as I've been long. The Black Lotus clan sends their regards.
Is this a challenge? It's promise!
Your reputation precedes you.
Ha ha! Perhaps, but you're still just a pussy.
Welcome to the motherfucking lady. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Hey guys, so I am fighting again April 18th here in the UK. I am so excited. It's my first fight on UK soil for like 3.5 years. I've really missed the British fans. I've missed you guys. I cannot wait to fight for you again. And I'm super, super pumped. Up in Sunderland, it's a great card. And I would love your support. So if you guys want to come along, support the Blonde Bomber, then hit me up, send me a DM, or check out the link in my bio for tickets. But yeah, hope I see you there, and I can't wait to get that W.
That is former IBF champion Ebony Bridges 4 weeks out from her upcoming fight. Hopefulness in her eyes, saying, "I'm back where I love to be, in the ring. First fight on British soil in 3.5 years, and I hope to see all my fans there showing love and support. I can't wait to feel that energy again from you guys. Ticket link is in my bio. The road back to the top starts now. More motivated than ever. New team, same goal. 2-time world champion, but this time with my son by my side. Grateful for the quick turnaround after my last fight. Thank you, MVP and VIP, for making this fight happen. Sporting a professional record of 9 wins with 3 losses and no draws, 4 recorded knockouts, having never been knocked out. In 12 professional bouts, having made her MVP debut in her last fight that did not go so well, she's currently coming off of back-to-back losses. To Miyo Yoshida, to Alexis Mons. Her next opponent has yet to be announced, though seeing that it's going to be a 6-rounder, that gives you a good idea what kind of opponent it's going to be.
A lighter touch.
Somebody even lighter than the last girl that she fought, because Alexis Mons only had a grand total of 6 professional fights going into the fight with Ebony, only 3 of which she won, 2 that she lost, and 1 where she drew. Another loss in the column would be catastrophic for what's supposed to be Ebony Bridges' big comeback, her rise to the top, now being trained by Dominic Engel.
Kell Brooks, longtime trainer, so you've got a good idea how this arrangement came into being.
The show she's fighting on is not an MVP show, rather a VIP show, a small local promoter over there across the pond in the UK. 1 or 2 familiar faces on the card. April Hunter.
Remember her?
Used to pal around a lot with Savannah Marshall when she was on Matchroom, when she was on Boxer. She's going to be fighting on this card. Haven't seen her in a while. And of course, Ebony Bridges.
There's only one scenario where I can see Ebony becoming a 2-time bantamweight champion, and that's if she doesn't have to go through a champion to do it. It's a tall ask, a tall order, because at this point, I don't think she can beat Shernika Johnson, who still has all the alphabet titles at this weight. If she were to lose them to Dina Thorsland, well, Ebony doesn't beat Dina either.
There's only one scenario where I can see Ebony becoming a 2-time bantamweight champion, and that's if she doesn't have to go through a champion to do it.
If the titles were to go vacant.
If in the time it's taking her to get back in the winner's bracket and rebuild herself, all the titles were to be redistributed, maybe then Ebony could win one, but she still wouldn't be in the clear, as the bantamweight division is a deep division. She would still have other fighters to worry about, besides Shernika, besides Dina.
She would still have to worry about up-and-comers like Johanna Wanyu and Crystal Rosado. She would still have to worry about Amanda Gaye. Win a belt. It's a target on your back.
Being one of the more familiar faces in the bantamweight division, that already makes Ebony Bridges a target. Add a belt to the equation, and everybody'd go after her. In a best-case scenario, where Ebony Bridges actually realizes this goal, it doesn't become easier after that, it just gets harder. I mean, I wish her all the best in trying to rebuild herself coming off of 2 back-to-back losses, but at her age,
given the state at the weight, there are certain realities to be addressed, inconvenient truths, and I wouldn't be of any use to anyone if I didn't highlight them.
Men's cruiserweight news. The continued fallout of the IBF's decision to strip Jai Opetaia of the red and gold title on the premise that he is now also the Zuffa cruiserweight champion.
There's some boxing fans out there and some content creators that are less than sympathetic towards his plight. One who goes by the name Alexander Herbanet said, "You signed with Zuffa Boxing that said no other belts will matter. That's what you signed up for."
So is that to suggest that Jai Opetaia's reign as a champion should be held to ransom on the premise of something that someone else said? That he should be punished for it, when even if Dana White doesn't care for the sanctioning bodies, Jai Opetaia does, and everybody knows what his mission has been from the moment he became a world champion. Another Twitter user, who goes by the name Dr. Manouche, said, "I didn't find it clever when he signed with Zuffa. I find it even stupider that he's getting offended and could sue the IBF. What did he expect? It's not the WBC."
It's not. But it's not the IBF's right either. It's not their place to dictate to a fighter what promotion he can sign to, irrespective of what the promoter said.
It's not their place to dictate to a fighter who he can sign to, and if you strip him of his belt for going to Zuffa, that's what you're doing. That's intimidation.
Add working with the promoters behind the scenes that rival Zuffa, and that is collusion.
Which Jai Opetaia's critics seem to be okay with, while they castigate him for going to that promotion when he didn't have much of a choice. Matchroom didn't offer him an extension, so what was he supposed to do? Where was he supposed to go?
They don't care.
Zuffa Boxing enters into the boxing space, and you had a lot of people clutching at their pearls, pretending to care about the fighters and what is best for the fighters.
Dana White's gonna underpay them. He's gonna screw them over.
Then they signed Conor Benn for $15 million to fight Regis Pagarius, of all people. The fighters themselves are reporting good things about how they're being treated at Zuffa and their fight purses, and they had to latch on to a new narrative.
A different one. They had to find something else to say, something else to complain about, because underneath it all, they don't give a damn about the fighters. It was never about that.
Nope.
They're vehemently against the formation of UBOs like Zuffa on the premise that it could pose a conflict of interest down the line.
Conflict of interest, that's your hang-up?
That's what you're worried about? You're worried that what Dana White wants to do is monopolize boxing like he monopolized mixed martial arts.
That's what you're worried about, a monopoly. I hate to break the news to you, but there's already been a monopoly in place within the sport of boxing long before Dana got here. Corruption, collusion, and conflicts of interests, all of that was already going on before Zuffa came into it.
Turn your attention over to the Schofields.
Floyd Schofield via his social media said, "April 18th fight is off because we want the summer fight against Tank Davis. The WBA reinstated him as world champion, and we are in line for that world title fight or the belt. We will keep you all updated." After making Gervonta Davis a champion in recess a little over 2 months ago, 2 months later they decided to reinstate him, alienating Floyd Schofield, alienating Lucas Badi, and nobody can do nothing about it.
This was supposed to be better than Zuffa.
And you know the WBA aren't going to hold Gervonta's feet to the fire. They're not going to force him to fight any mandatories. They're going to reinstate him as champion, then let him have his pick of the litter. This is what's supposed to be better than Zuffa. This system.
This broken system that you are now defending.
This broken system that's been screwing over fighters for years. They're screwing over the Schofields at 135. They're screwing over Shakram Giyasov at 147. He's been waiting for his title shot for about 3 years.
And this is the broken system that you're defending. This is what's supposed to be better than Zuffa. I could write a book about how many dubious decisions I've witnessed the alphabets make with impunity because there's nobody around to police them. So that if that is all of a sudden changing, I'm all for it.
If Zuffa Boxing coming into it is offering the fighters an alternative to the existing framework, the broken one,
can't be any worse than what we've been seeing. What the World Boxing Council did to Graziano Rocigliani many years ago is the same thing the World Boxing Association did to Alberto Machado many years later, demoting a reigning champion after the fact to accommodate another fighter.
this is what you guys are defending?
The WBC demoted Rocigliani to accommodate Roy Jones Jr. like the WBA demoted Alberto Machado to accommodate Tank Davis.
This is what you guys are defending?
Then clearly corruption and collusion is not what you're worried about. Corruption within the sport of boxing and conflicts of interests aren't your real problem, because you're defending all that stuff. It's whose corruption you're concerned with. Whose collusion? Not whether or not it exists.
Not when it so obviously does and has for many, many years now.
That when I see the IBF has stripped Jai Opetaia, who's never done anything but abide by their rules and satisfy their mandatories,
The shit is wrong.
to call it anything else is being a party to that collusion, because it's not the place of a sanctioning body to dictate to a fighter what promoter he can sign to.
But Dana White said, Dana White!
Well, clearly, you are more focused on Dana White than what is good and what is fair within the sport of boxing.
And the fact that they've had to misrepresent the Muhammad Ali Revival Act as much as they have, for no other reason than its association with the emergence of Zuffa boxing in the sport, it says a lot about them, because first and foremost, a boxer can elect to go to the UBO model or not. They haven't been stripped of choice.
It's basically a fork in the road. They can go to the UBOs or they can go to sanctioning body organizations. And this was covered in great detail in the latest issue of Sports Illustrated with Chris Mannix.
Zuffa's biggest opponents and the opponents of the Muhammad Ali Revival Act are only pretending to care about the fighters, because if they cared so much, where were they when Rayo was forced to give Gary Antoine Russell a title shot that he didn't deserve, that he didn't earn, coming off a loss?
Because they care so much about the fucking fighters.
Where were these same bleeding hearts when Robert Garcia let it be known that the PBC didn't give Rayo Valenzuela much of a choice? They told him it's Gary Antoine Russell, a nobody, threatening to bench him if he didn't give Gary the fight.
Ain't this kind of stuff you're supposed to be against? You know, because you care so much about the fighters.
Fighters that were discussed by Sports Illustrated's Chris Mannix in a sit-down interview with Rep. Brian Jack, broaching the subject of coercive contracts within the sport of boxing,
Which there's no shortage of. Eric McCracken, one of Zuffa Boxing's biggest opponents, said the average pro boxing career is about 5 years. It is extraordinary to see politicians acting as though allowing a 6-year-long exclusive promoter contracts is labor protection.
oh, because you're so worried about the length of a contract between a boxer and a promoter. Hey, how long has Ryan Garcia been with Golden Boy? And how long has he been trying to get away from them that you're so worried about that? And what about Virgil?
Shit is fake, man.
Much is he trying to get away from Golden Boy Promotions? You're so concerned about coercive contracts. What about the contracts that Al Heyman has had with a good number of his fighters? The most famous, Floyd Mayweather.
Because you care so fucking much, you're not even talking about it, right?
Right. How much money is Floyd accusing Al Heyman of stealing from him? And a part of how he did it was through coercion, which you seem to be against when it comes to Zuffa, but not when it comes to everybody else.
You don't like long-term contracts when it comes to Zuffa because the average pro boxing career is only 5 years, so then why are you okay with the WBA wasting 3 years out of Shakram Giyasov's career? Why are you okay with that?
Why are you okay with them charging all of these fighters, all of these sanctioning fees for world title opportunities they're never gonna get?
Even when they're in line, and they've earned those opportunities. You don't seem to have much to say about that because corruption and collusion really isn't your focus. You only pretend to be the good guys.
It's all fucking bullshit.
To cultivate favor for what are your biased and skewed perspectives, because you're not worried about corruption and collusion more than you're worried about hating Dana White.
For you, that's what this is really all about. It's not about what's best for the fighters and protecting the fighters. It's about hating Dana White. You only pretend to care about the fighters so that you can keep hating Dana White.
If it were about protecting the fighters, you would have a lot more to say about the existing framework that's been screwing them over than what you have to say about Zuffa, because Zuffa's just getting started.
And I feel the need to highlight this as much as possible because nobody else is going to, and it doesn't come from love of Dana White. I care less about the man. It comes from boxing's need for more regulation, more structure, more oversight, more than what it's been getting. It's been the wild, wild west, where the alphabets have been able to do whatever the fuck they want to whatever fighter they want to fuck over.
So what's so bad about Zuffa offering an alternative? It can't be any worse than what we've been seeing.
What about this Ali Act? It passed through the House. It seems inevitable that it's going to pass. As you're watching all this transpire now, what are you thinking?
Well, it doesn't seem inevitable. I mean, it still has to pass through the Senate.
Okay.
I've had various conversations with members from the Senate, and they invited me in a few weeks to Washington and speak, and so I'm going to be there. And this is what's mind-boggling to me is that nobody's reporting on it. Nobody's talking about it. I'm expecting the boxing community to be in Washington. I'm not sure exactly what day it is, but it's in a few weeks, and I'll be there. But it feels like I'm fighting this fight alone. It's pretty odd. But look, that's what TKO is. That's what Zuffa is. That's what Dana is. They're always sneaky, and they had a hearing. What was it, yesterday or a couple of days ago, where they passed it? It was all sneaking. It was all under the radar. Nobody knew about it. So hopefully, with me showing up, with me being prepared, talking to the Senate, hopefully convincing him, and hopefully it gets derailed.
I do have to say, I feel like we've talked about it a lot on the show, and right now on our website, uncrowned.com, which is part of Yahoo, the top story is the Muhammad Ali American Boxing Revival Act offers the worst of boxing and MMA. We have a massive story up there, Oscar, on this. So when you say no one's talking about it, I hope you're not talking about us, because we have been.
I take that back, and you're probably the only one who hasn't been bought, so I respect that.
That is true. I think that is true, by the way. I think we're the last. That's why I say we're the last of a dying breed. You and I both, we're the last of a dying breed, Oscar.
Look, we have platforms where we have to educate and be responsible and make sure that the fans know, the fighters know. We're doing the right thing for the sport, so it's an uphill battle, but hey, like I said, I'm a fighter. I'm a fighter first.
Yes.
Perhaps that's just Oscar being egotistical, thinking he's the only one being vocal about the formation of UBOs, the Revival Act, Dana White's entry into the boxing space, accusing him of many of the same things that he's been accused of by his own fighters. Because how many guys have you seen say that Oscar shorted them on the money? Whether it's Gennady Golovkin or Sergey Kovalev, Shane Mosley or Juan Manuel Marquez, Canelo.
Coercive contracts
That last for long periods where the fighters try to break free, like what Virgil is doing now. Anything you're worried about from Dana White or Zuffa, you've likely already seen from Oscar and Golden Boy. So it's not even that Zuffa are the good guys.
Maybe they're not.
But it's that you guys that have already been here, you ain't the good guys either. I don't think any of the pushback you've been seeing in the media is about protecting fighters so much as reserving the right to be the one that screws them over.
That if anybody's gonna fuck over these fighters, it's gonna be me.
Because the promoters have already been doing that for years, and so have the sanctioning bodies. Where Zuffa changes things is it offers those fighters an alternative to being fucked over by the alphabets or fucked over by Oscar.
The Revival Act.
I'm still waiting for somebody to tell me how under the Revival Act it would be a bad thing that there would be less interim and secondary titles in the sport of boxing. People are complaining about the Zuffa belt, not realizing the Revival Act would get rid of that assembly line of belts we've been seeing from the WBA, from the WBC.
Isn't that what people have been complaining about for years? Too many belts in the sport?
Focusing just on the addition of the Zuffa belt, not realizing this would get rid of the WBA Gold, the WBA Interim, the WBA Regular,
The WBC Diamond, the WBC Franchise, the WBC Interim.
Can somebody explain to me how that's a bad thing? Because I thought that's what people have been complaining about. It's become very clear to me that some of Zuffa's biggest opponents and what they claim to be afraid of that they might do is what they've been doing already.
It is not about protecting the fighters. It's about reserving the right to be the one that fucks them over.